Yo guys, welcome back to another episode of Burrito Talk. This is episode number 4. We are going over the first week of Major Online Qualifiers back. I said that whole thing wrong, but first week back for Major Online Qualifiers in the CDL. These qualifiers are for Major number 1, and I just want to preface by saying I'm not going to have a definitive opinion on these teams until maybe after this next week of matches. It's only like the first week. Most teams played 2 games. I think some teams played 1. I think, or maybe every team played 2. I have to look. But we're going to not give definitive opinions, especially on teams like Cloud9, teams that did not have a fair ping advantage as we get into that. But I'm going to go game by game, not spending super long amounts of time, just giving brief thoughts, and then we're going to get into predictions for next week's games. Take into account that next week after this week's games, there's like a 2-3 week break. So, but if you need something to hold you in that 2-3 weeks, expect content from me on YouTube. You know the vibes, the streams. We're going to be watching challengers too. I just found the stream for Australian challengers so we could see Shocks and Vita. I'm doing it all in the off season. And if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget Burrito Talk is also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. But let's get right into this. We're going to start off with LAG versus RØKKR. 3-2 RØKKR. This is the first match on Friday. What an opening game, I guess you could say. But, the gist of this game, the gist of RØKKR's 2 games, I guess, because we're just going to go a cappella, is RØKKR basically won both their series the exact same way, slightly different, but they both had vault hard points, which they were on the brink of losing on P4s, but ended up contesting it just enough to go into a P1 and win the game. I would say they got lucky both times playing vault, and then they clutched up in a round 11, game 5, both games that they played. RØKKR's 2-0. And I'm going to commend them for showing resilience, fighting back, getting the win most importantly, because at the end of the day, all that matters is that you're 2-0. At the end of the day, no matter how it happened, when you look at the scoreboard, when you look at the CDL points, you got the points and you got the wins. And you need that to get into winner's bracket to make it further in order to qualify for champs. So kudos for them. Like, every win matters, especially if you're not a top 3 team. Every win matters. So kudos to them. But also going to preface by saying it's not a sustainable way to win. And they might be 2-0, but I don't think anyone is convinced that RØKKR is a good team that's going to go far in tourneys if this is how they're winning their games, but they're winning them. So it's a double-edged sword. But are they going to be able to do this against Atlanta FaZe, LA Thieves, OpTic? Probably not. Cloud9 on good ping? Probably not. But I'm glad that they're able to do it and at least get some wins under their belt. Their hard point doesn't really look that good, but S&D is pretty much their bread and butter. We're going to not focus too much on Vault S&D because that map's pretty fluky for S&D, but I think every other S&D map they seem to have down. They have the S&D players for it. Even Gio, in his post-match interview after the first match, I believe he said, we picked up Paul X. We needed a good search player. Paul X is good at search, and that's one of the main reasons why they picked them up. And I'm very high on Paul X. Even looking at this stat board, for those of you watching on video, for those of you who aren't, so this game against LAG, basically everyone on RØKKR had 100 deaths. Like, that shows they're flying at everything together. I'm not going to say that means they're using teamwork, but they're all in it together. They all have around the exact same damage. Paul X has like 1,000 more because he's nasty. That's my guy. But yeah, in terms of LAG though, man, what can we say about LAG? There's so many things I could say. First of all, I predicted this. I predicted them to at least beat Carolina, but they couldn't even do that, which further goes with my point. Man, do they miss Hydra, and man, did they need them. But you know what? I'm gonna go hard on them, but I want to actually give them more time. I want to give every team more time. I don't just want to make an opinion right away. But watching those games, it makes you think. With the amount of mistakes they were making in respawns, you could even say S&D, honestly, because he was their playmaker in that too. Just everything, honestly, everything. Whenever they make a mistake, a lot of the times Hydra would bail them out. Hydra was like a nuke on the map for them, where they basically played around him. He would do stuff. People would follow him up. He was always making the play. And I could see Lynch trying to be that player, but I don't think they have it quite down yet in terms of chemistry, in terms of coordinating how he's going to do it. Like, you watch LA Thieves play, and you have Ghosty blocking a spawn. You have Scrap blocking a spawn. You have Envoy blocking a spawn to allow Hydra to go do what he has to do so it doesn't mess up everybody else on the team. But as you can see, like on the Vault hardpoint, it was either this game or the other game. I think it was this game, or it was the Carolina game. I don't know which one it was. But Priesta pushes up long haul towards Hookah, and no one's blocking the back, and they end up flipping. He pushes up way too far, and there was no communication there, and they flip spawns, and they end up losing that P2. And just small things like that. There's a lot of small things. I could tell that Linz is trying. Like, for those who were saying that they weren't trying to replicate the exact same formula they had with Hydra on the team, you're trolling, because they're literally trying to do that exact same thing, except this time it's a bit different since Linz isn't 100,000% the green light player, because he's not the superstar Hydra is. Skies is allowed to do more, so you're seeing it in the kills that Skies allowed to kill Horror more. But I think all this is also affecting Priesta. But at the same time, I don't think Priesta's performing exactly like I said he would not perform. I just don't know what it is with him. I'm just convinced he should not be a role player. I don't think the role player thing's for him. You could say it worked because he's a world champion, but that was literally because of Hydra. I don't think that was because of him. I think I always thought he was like a cracked, like, you know, like a fast in-your-face player, but he, like, these past few years, he's been playing very slow. And I'm sorry if the puzz are hitting the mic. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit close. But he just seems a lot more slower this year, and I don't know. I mean, I know why, because he's being more of a role player, more of a plug-in player, but I don't think it's making him look good at all. It's not helping his stock, and it's not helping his teams. They need more kills on the map, and it can't come from Linz and Skies. That's not sustainable. It's not Hydra, you know. It's not Hydra, and you could even argue that MW2, they got a little bit lucky because Hydra went nuclear at COD Champs, but that's a whole other story entirely. I think I'm going to give them one more week. If they keep messing up after this second week of games, I'm going to double down on my point, but I had the point in the tier list, and I'm seeing it here now. If you can't even beat RØKKR or Carolina, what hope do you have against everybody else? These on paper should have been the easy games for Los Angeles Guerrillas, but it didn't work out like that. And also, another thing I want to take into account, the brand that they're on, the Gentlemates brand. I don't even know, like, I was there back in Black Ops 2, but I don't vividly remember Gotaga. All I know now is that he's a big content creator, streamer in France. They love him over there. He has big viewership, and I know he was doing his watch party with like 50,000 people watching. So supportive, so excited. And I mean, if I were the players, I would feel pretty disappointed. Yeah, you lose. You lose some, you win some. But RØKKR and Carolina, like, you're losing like this. And like, it's just not a good showing. With all the support that they have, I kind of feel like it was not a good look to lose. Like, I kind of feel like they should have won these games, to be honest. Like, that's really disappointing. Like, those watch parties, like, I saw clips of them. Like, they were so hyped. There's a lot of people watching. Just excited to support the boys. After the first game, he was like, yeah, good try, guys. Yeah, we'll get them next time, whatever. And then to lose again to Carolina was like, man, like, that stuff is not a good look. I'm not saying it was like must wins or whatever, but man, with all the support they had, you got to put up a better showing against RØKKR. You got to beat them. Like, I just feel you got to beat them. Like, yeah, yes, like, they Neslo'd you, but man, you got to beat them. You got to win that fucking Vault hard point. You just have to. You have to. And then, like, the Vault S&D not really gonna Not really gonna go into that one. That one could go either way, and they actually did win that one, and then they lost the vault. I didn't really watch the vault control because I was at work, and I didn't go back and watch it, which I probably should have. This is like the one game I didn't go back to watch. But yeah, Los Angeles Guerrillas got some work to do. We'll see how they do after week number 2, and then we'll get down and we'll either double down. Like if they have another 0-2 stage, I mean, I actually kind of want to see who their games are against. Let's actually see who their games are against real quick, because this is actually very interesting. So their next games are against... Oh, this is not good. Whoa. Whoa. So Los Angeles Guerrillas, for those of you watching on audio only or listening on audio only, the best way I could put it, they're probably going to start, or they're definitely going to start Major I in losers bracket. I think it's undisputed at this point. Their next 2 games before the Christmas break are Los Angeles Thieves and OpTic, Texas. I'm expecting an 0-2 there and an 0-4 start before you go have a happy holidays with your families. Not a great feeling. Then they come right back and they go against the Red... I'm not even going to say Red Heart Cloud9, but they go against Cloud9, who's probably going to be on a better ping, but they're going against another Dallas team, so who knows, but it's a worse off team. And then following Cloud9, they go against Ultra, you know? And then they go against Vegas Falcons, who I'll get into once I get to their next game. But that schedule's not looking good for the Guerrillas, and they have to lock in. They have to pray for an upset. They gotta win one of those. Like, I know it's LA Thieves and OpTic. You gotta pray. I mean, maybe not LA Thieves like at all. Like, no chance in hell. But against OpTic, you gotta hope something happens. You just gotta hope. You gotta try something. But not looking good. I'm expecting an 0-2, 0-4 start. So that just goes to show how important these first 2 games were for them. Like, they had to win these first 2 games, and they lost them both. And now they're putting themselves in a horrible predicament. And this will probably end up in a roster change, starting 0-4, going on the losers. They might just get OFR'd. Probably going to make a change. Probably is going to be for Priesta. Can't be for Linz because he's the only French player on a French org. They're not going to get rid of him, even though I was thinking that they probably should. But after realizing the org and everything, there's just no way. But up next, OpTic, Texas, Boston Breach. Boston Breach wins 3-2. OpTic opened it up by slamming them on Skyline, but then Boston Breach bounced back in the S&D. They actually won both S&Ds, 6-2 rewind, 6-3 red card game 5. OpTic won map 3, although not very convincing. Boston Breach probably should have won that. I made a video about that. You should go watch it. And then the red card, Boston Breach won. And I mean, all I got to say is this is exactly what I said in the tier list. And this is what makes me think I should have put OpTic in the A tier and not the S tier. The only reason why I put him in the S tier is because it was a preseason. We didn't see any games. And on paper, those look like the undisputed 3 best teams, like super teams, compared to every other team. So going into the season, hard to put them in a tier with people on paper less. I'm not going to say way less because that'd be pretty disrespectful to Ultra, but teams way less of them. So logically, putting them bottom of the S tier made sense, but now I realize I should not be putting teams in the S tier unless I'm 100% confident about it, and I even talked about it. OpTic may match up well against FaZe and LA Thieves, but I said against the rest of the league, I have no idea what it is. They should be thrashing these bottom teams, honestly, pretty convincingly. Or not all of them pretty convincingly, but most of them convincingly, and the others just getting the wins. It shouldn't be that difficult, to be honest, with their team on paper, but they struggle against these teams. And it's just funny because Boston Breach, I mean, they're playing very well, but put them against LA Thieves, probably can get smoked. Put them against Atlanta FaZe, probably can get smoked. But for some reason, putting against OpTic, it's a grueler game 5, you know? Like, you just, I don't know. That's just not a good look, not sustainable. And now I'm making this podcast with the news that Pred's going to be taking some time off and Hook's going to be coming in. So how does this change the dynamic of the team? It's so funny because I talked about it on stream, how I wish that Zio could play together, Hook and Shotzi. Like, I wish they could just be like an SMG duo for like the rest of their careers together. But I was like, unfortunately, it's not going to happen because ain't no way they're going to drop Pred. They're not going to drop Shotzi, you know. Like, there's no way any of this stuff's going to happen. And then out of the blue, this AG thing happens. I'm sorry. For some reason, I just yawn when I yap a lot. I think it's the way I take in air. It's so weird. Anyways, but yeah, so Hook's going to be coming in. I think this helps their S&D tremendously, which is crazy. And although it's temporary, there's a person that made the point is what happens if like they go on a red hot winning streak and they win Major 1 and then AG comes back? Are they going to drop Hook, you know, after they just smoke everyone and they win the Major? Like, that would create, you know, a conflict. So that's an interesting point to bring up as well. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it is temporary or not. I don't know anything. I'm just a fan like you guys, seeing the intel, trying to gather my own opinions, not get influenced by all the things you're seeing online unless they come from the camp itself. But that's an interesting opinion to have. Like, if they win the rest of their Major 1 games, the qualifier games, and then they win Major 1, like, would they drop Hook? Or even if they made grand finals and it was a close game and they lost, like, would they drop Hook after a pretty, like, successful? I mean, I know OpTic's not happy with second place, but, you know, that'd be a pretty good run. Would they drop him after that if AG came back after that? When you have Shotzi going on after these qualifier games saying, if you threw us an attorney right now, like, we would have no chance of winning. Like, he was basically saying they're so far behind in scrims, which is another thing that's very confusing to me. Like, how would you be behind in scrim? Like, sometimes I don't understand what teams are saying when they're not getting good practice. I mean, like, you're scrimming. Like, I mean, I understand because it means practice is not going well, but you got 2 coaches. You got 4 players who are on playing scrims. Like, what's not going good? Are people not understanding their role, what they have to do? Like, what is hard? Like, what's the difficult part about it that's making scrims not progressive is basically what I'm wondering. Like, when Shotzi says scrims aren't going good, like, you know, like, we're very behind. I'm like, how are you behind? Everyone is in the facility playing the game every day, you know, playing scrims every day. What are you behind on? You know, like, I need answers to these questions. But very interesting things to take in, but that's great out of Boston that they clutched up on the S&Ds. Great out of them. Boston should have actually went 2-0, which I guess I'll kind of skip ahead. I'm going acapella, guys. I'm going acapella. This isn't a structured show. I just yap. But this goes into like the Boston Breach RØKKR game where Boston lost 3-2. This game was on Saturday, and Boston should have won this game, but they didn't. They lost the vault to RØKKR the exact same way RØKKR beat LAG, where they should have won on P4. Somehow RØKKR gets in, trolls. I was going to say I fucking made a video about it, but I didn't. But somebody was not watching across when they should have been, and someone stuck by, and they were able to capitalize and contest enough and then win it on the P1. Boston didn't have enough time to get there, and then they won 6-5 in the rewind, which I didn't watch that map. I don't know how I didn't watch that. I don't know what I was doing, but I think I was uploading a video at that time. I think that's what I was doing. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was ill, and I was just uploading videos while I was watching the game, so that I was kind of watching it back and forth. But yeah, Boston actually should have went 2-0, and that would have been a great start for them. But now we got to see who they play next, because they might be angry that they didn't go up 2-0, especially considering their game. So their next 2 games before the Christmas break are Miami and Vancouver, which are pretty tough games, actually. Like, they're not easy games. Like, Boston Breach isn't a top team, so these aren't easy games. So those could go either way. They could go 2-0, they could go 0-2, they could go 1-2, or 1-1. Like, they could, like, anything could happen in those games. Miami and Vancouver are teams, like, basically, I'm not going to say on their level, you could say slightly above, but in that same pack of teams that could all beat each other, you know? So that could go either way. And then after Christmas, they play Carolina, which they should probably be banking on winning. I think ideally for them, they're thinking they should take either one or both of the Vancouver Miami. Like, they would be happy with one and then beat the Carolina. So at least go 3-4, which will probably be enough to make winners maybe, because their last 2 games are against Atlanta FaZe and LA Thieves, which is no fun for anybody getting those back-to-back. But thank God they don't get them back-to-back days. There's a day in between grace periods, so that's good for them. But yeah, they probably are kicking themselves in the feet with that RØKKR game, because they had a chance to maybe go 4-2 in the stage, at least, or 4-3 in this stage, which probably would have been way better for them. Potentially even 5-2, who knows? But yeah, Boston just has to keep putting the work in. It's only like the first week, as we all know. The S&D is pretty good. I think Cammy and Awakening can only get better. If they get worse, then I really wouldn't know what to tell you at that point. Like, honestly, I really wouldn't know what to tell you if Cammy and Awakening. I was gonna say, I don't know what word I was gonna use. Anyways, but Snoopy's also looking pretty good at this game. Hopefully he gets better. I love seeing teams get better. Like, I don't think, even though it sounds cool, I don't think anyone wants a 3-team league. It'd be nice if everyone's competitive with everyone. So it's nice to see people like Snoopy getting better. Once again, I'm not high on Purge. I do feel if they upgraded for Purge, that would be very good. I may be a Purge hater. I'm not sure. But, Purge doesn't do it for me. And the control, I know he made a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of mistakes he made. They're commending him on his comms and everything and like stuff, but I'm like, you could find another player who could shoot better, to be honest, and be better with the comms. But I am also an advocate on giving people time to develop in the league. But the lowest kitty on the team, I'm not even gonna fault a 0.93 86 Slayer rating. Snoopy got a 95 Slayer rating. Like, he is going off in the interactions. Holy cow, I didn't even know. A 95 Slayer rating is crazy. Like, we're gonna go through statistics after this, honestly, after we go through games, because I want to see the full GG breaking point statistics after this. But with the other Friday games, Vegas Falcons, Carolina Royal Ravens. Carolina Royal Ravens win this one 3-1. And I will say this about Falcons. So I'm going to have a video coming out, probably going to drop it with this one, with XNID in Pro 8s, playing against other pros in NA. I will say probably 2 of these Vegas Falcon players, maybe 3, like, are very mechanically skilled players that can shoot their guns very well. But this just goes to show you that skill is only like half the game, if not a third of the game. The other half is knowing how to play. And at the highest level, it's knowing how to play as a team, which is another tier, as opposed to just being skilled and knowing how to play hardpoint. Because people could be skilled and know like the spawns and how to play hardpoint, but how you're playing with your team, knowing where your teammates are, how to block a spawn, off spawn, what are you doing off spawn? Do you have to wait 2 seconds for your teammate to spawn behind you before you could go? Like, all these things are all things that I don't think Vegas Falcons has a grip of yet, but they have Clay, so hopefully it gets better over time. And they're losing these series, like, they're 0-2, they're losing them, but they're not getting thrashed. Like, they got 3-0 like in the control by Royal Ravens, but it's not like DoorDash, like, it's not anything like that. Like, they're pretty good at S&D too. They're not that bad at S&D. And I think with time, this team could actually get better. They just need to learn how to actually play fundamentally correctly. Like, there's a big difference between just playing and playing at the highest level. And hopefully they learn. Maybe it might not be this year. Maybe it might take another year. But learning to play at the highest level as a team, I think they could actually go places. But, just being skilled is such a small part of the game, because, I can walk into a pub game. There's some skilled players in pubs. But, if I throw them in a ranked game, or like if I throw them in an 8s lobby, or throw them in like pro scrims or something, probably going to be lost as hell because they're just going to be on the map. They see 3 players on their team. Like, wait, where am I supposed to go? Like, you'll even see it in, like, the 8s video I drop of Xnid playing 8s. Like, there were some times, like, he was playing with Hook, Prolu, and Illy against Pred, Shotzi, Kicks, and RØKKR. And, like, there would be times where Hook, Prolu, and Illy would be in a position, and Xnid didn't know where to go, trying to fill in a gap. Like he was actually kind of tweaking sometimes. But, yeah, if they just get better fundamentally, like, I would take time. I'm not sure what Clayster's doing as a coach. Like, I don't know his techniques or whatever. I'm sure he's going to teach them a lot. But really try to hammer down. Try to show them examples of other teams playing, how they're doing this, how they're doing that, and how they have to implement it on the map. Like, I feel like when they scrim, I think this is something a lot of teams should do, actually. Like, honestly, when it comes to scrims, instead of just playing the game, because, yeah, you play the game to get used to your team, where everyone goes, you know, like, just playing with people over and over again, like, you get used to them, you get used to what they do, creates a good flow, great team chemistry. But I think something a lot of teams should do, I'm not sure if it's allowed in scrims, but I think a good way to, like, really know what's going on in scrims, if both teams would actually allow it, would be for the coach, because coaches are in Codcaster anyway in these scrims. But if the coach could actually, like, this sounds so crazy, guys, but if the coach could actually calm where the other team's spawning in the minimap in certain times, like, if you're getting that live reaction or that live information as you're playing, like, that's the stuff that could help you, like, know, okay, like, in this, like, okay, but it sounds like fucking cheating. Like, you know, it sounds like cheating because, like, you're cheating, but it shouldn't be like that because it's in a scrim, you know? Like, who really cares anyway? It should be teams trying to grow and learn. Maybe do that against a challengers team. Just play a challengers team, have your coach and Codcaster actually saying, okay, guys, you guys know he's, like, spawning over here, right? But, like, I'm not saying with every single, like, person that spawns up, but, like, in certain situations that could, like, help people gain the knowledge, like, okay, if we're here, spawns there, if there's, like, a split spawn or, like, a flip spawn, okay, guys, that can actually, like, spawn behind you, and they're like, oh, okay, so if I'm over here on this hill at this time, this guy spawns over, like, that's how I feel scrim should be. I'm not saying all the time, but, like, maybe a map or two, you know, because that would help players learn in situations. This is happening. That sounds very unorthodox. Like, people might call me crazy, but that's how I feel like people should take scrims. And it's not just about playing a scrim, loading, and trying to win. Like, as scrims are going on, like, every teammate should be, like, actually having conversations, like, not just about the game, but, like, hey, man, like, so, like, in this situation, whatever. Sometimes it shouldn't have to wait till after the game. Like, talk about that stuff as the game is going on. It's only a scrim. Like, it doesn't matter if you use a scrim. What's on the line, you know? Who cares, you know? Actually, like, talk to each other as the game is going on. Like, hey, you know, like, hey, like, I don't like when you go this way. Okay, I'm going to try this on this life. Okay, like, actually make scrims productive in that way. But that's just, like, that's just something I've always thought about this, like, for years and years, about how, like, if people are doing this, if it should be done. But that's just, like, a thought I have about scrims. But we are going to move on to Atlanta FaZe Ultra. Ultra beats FaZe 3-1. I mean, I don't think many people predicted this, but it happened. And you know what? I'm pretty happy that happened. I actually don't mind that it happened at all. I actually don't mind that it happened at all, because I like Ultra, and I put them in the A tier all by themselves with upset potential on the top 3, and it happened. Atlanta FaZe smoked them first map protocol and then lost the S&D red card. I feel like red card, over as the game develops, people are going to develop more, you know, concrete strats for it. But at the moment, I think the teams that are worse in respawn are way better at red card S&D than the teams that are better than it. Like, I'm not sure if that's just me, but I feel like red card could go either way. Any team could win. There are a couple rounds where I thought FaZe kind of trolled, but I mean, I say that every game they play, there's always a troll in there somewhere, right? But I thought Ultra played very well. Ultra played as a team, which is a big thing if you're playing a team in the top 3 or a team above you. Teamwork is so important, especially if you're like a team like Boston, for example, playing against LA Thieves. You have to be realistic. Granted, I said we're all playing the exact same game. You know, people should be at the same skill level, all that stuff. But you do have to realize who you're playing against sometimes, and they probably do shoot a bit better than me, whatever. How am I going to offset that balance of skill? It's the teamwork, working as a team. Yeah, Hydra could be skilled, but if he's going against 2 players or is getting pinched or traded or whatever the case may be, if you're isolating him on a point in the map, you know, no matter how good you are as a player, you know, if a team is using teamwork, you know, that's like your best opportunity to kind of even the playing field when it's all down to this team is way more skilled. It's like the 8s thing. It's like that. It's like the Zuma tourney where it was like Simp, Kleenex, MC, and Dashi, I think, or whatever on the same team, or Draza or Dashi. I don't know what it was, but it was a super team, and everyone's like, this is unfair. Like, they're going to smoke everyone. And then they lost, like, Shotzi, medals, you know, just a random team that thought they had no hope. And it's because they used teamwork, you know? Use examples like that. But I thought Ultra had a good showing. Atlanta FaZe on Skyline Hardpoint cannot rotate. They went down like 120. They trolled some breaks. But Ultra, I feel like Insight has a very good reading. Granted, if you're looking at this on video, he went 59-66, but that's overall. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's like not that big a deal. But I feel like Toronto Ultra, specifically Kleenex and Insight, even though sometimes they get smoked by Atlanta FaZe, but when they have FaZe's upper hand, I feel like they know that FaZe is going to make mistakes, and they allow FaZe to make the mistakes, and they just let them run into mistakes, and they capitalize on it, and they know how to play. They almost play a lot more. They play a lot more of a simple game when they play against FaZe sometimes, because they know FaZe is doing weird stuff sometimes, because sometimes FaZe just looks lost sometimes, and they look lost in that Skyline Hardpoint. If you go back and watch it, I believe I broke that one down on the members only. I believe I broke that one down, but there was a lot of mistakes on their breaks, their P2. They would have P2 and lose it because they would push P4 side and just completely flip spawns. I don't know why. But there's like a lot of mistakes like that. Ultra were able to capitalize it. They won 250 to 178, which is actually a lot closer of a scoreline than I thought, which makes me think if FaZe didn't troll some rotations, probably could have went map 5, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. But good showing out of Ultra to take that win. You know, that's also how you could beat top teams as well. Like, every win isn't always going to be a decisive win, a dominant win. Sometimes it comes down to capitalizing on mistakes that teams make, because even the top teams make mistakes. All about capitalizing on it. And Insight and Kleenex are some of the best in the business at making teams pay for their mistakes. They've been doing it for years against Atlanta FaZe. They either get smoked by Atlanta FaZe, or Atlanta FaZe makes mistakes and they capitalize on it and they outplay them. And that's exactly what Ultra did. Going into Saturday's games, Miami Heretics against Vegas Falcons. So this kind of goes back to like the point I was saying earlier about the Falcons. Like, even though they got 3-0'd, it was a pretty close 3-0, like 250, 236 Skyline, 6-3 Protocol S&D. I think Protocol S&D is a complete fake map. I don't put much stock into it when a team beats another team or like they lose, unless there's like a jarring mistake. There is not a consistent way to play, but if you do have control of like A down low or something, there is a way to play that should be pretty much guaranteed. And it's so funny looking at the score line back-to-back games, how Kicks is the only one on this team with a positive KD in like both games by a significant margin, which makes you think, is he kill whoring? I might have to go back and watch this. I don't know. I may have to go back and watch this. I'm going to write this down in my notes. But Miami Heretics 3-0 them, and Miami Heretics in their S&D, I will talk about their SD against Seattle Surge a bit later, but Miami Heretics look like a very good average team. Real very good at this game. I think RØKKR, the time he's been putting into eights, I've been seeing him in a lot of eights lobbies. He was in challenges for a brief period, playing in like the cups, and all that stuff, and a lot of scrims. He's been putting a lot of time into the game, and it's showing for him, so that's good. And if you just grind the game, like you could actually make things happen. And he's grinding. Real's very good. I think Real's like the superstar of this team, and that's why Miami refused to let him go. Because who would fill the shoes of Real right now? If Real was not on this team, this would probably be a C tier team. Oh my gosh, a C tier team. If Real was not on the team, because what SMG Super? I don't see Super doing what Real can. Maybe over time, but not right away. But I do feel Lucky is the main AR. If he is the main AR, yeah, I believe he is the main AR. I feel a lot of inconsistency there. They could maybe upgrade there. Oh my god, I'm yawning over and over again. I'm so sorry for the audio listeners. I hope I'm not making you tired if you're in like the middle of like if you're in the middle of like work or something and you're hearing me yawn. You're like, man, I'm tired now. But they could upgrade Lucky, but they're trying to keep a Spanish only team, so that's like the hard part about it. Like if they actually diversified and kept like even 3 Spanish players or 2 and then diversified the others, but I actually do like the trio. I just feel like Lucky specifically not doing good so far, but it's only a week in. Or I mean, it's only a week in. Let's see if he's the same after 2 weeks, and then we'll actually get back to that with more decisive opinions. We'll have a 2-week, 3-week break. We'll have time to break down every team individual, so stay tuned for all that content. And then the Boston Breach, Minnesota RØKKR already went through that 3-2. Vancouver Surge against Ultra. I mean, I love this series. This is a great series. Vancouver kicking themselves in the face. How they could have won this. You even saw the reactions in my shorts. If you saw the reaction of Hicksy when they lost to 6-5, and Nasty saying my fault because they had a 3v2. It was a 3v2 bomb plant. Yes. No, it was a 3v3 bomb down on A. Like they planted the bomb at A. Hicksy has an RCE car. Pretty sure he called out at the beginning of the round to his team. And all they had to do was stay alive. Nasty had to just stay behind the computers and hard aim like the spiral door entrance. And Hicksy calling his car to watch the whole main front doors. And Hicksy hops up on the computers for no reason and gets picked off. And they're in a 3v2. And they end up losing that game 5 protocol 6-5 to Ultra. Like they actually were giving Ultra a run for their money. And I felt this is a good showing out of Vancouver. The vault control that they won against Ultra, I broke that video down. I like the way they played it. Vancouver's a very good team, and Ep.4 is actually proving me wrong. Don't let the statistics fool you. I actually feel like he's made tremendous progress. Still good in S&D. His respawn is getting dramatically better, and their comms are getting better. I like this team comp. I actually do want to give more time. People were talking about the slang not being there for this team, but I think it's actually made up in Hicksy, who I'm very high on, and it could be mixed with Abuza as well, who didn't have a good series this game, but I feel like they have 3 players who have the ability to slay very well and a very consistent flex on that team as well. So I'm actually very high on this team. A lot of people just see names on like paper and just assume maybe like they're not like the most talented, but this Vancouver team I feel is going to make waves, and I don't want them to make a roster change anytime soon so far, unless it just goes downhill and they lose every game. But they had a great showing. They had a great win and they should have been up 2-0. Honestly, they should have gone up 2-0 in the qualifiers, but sometimes some 6-5 happens. Their protocol hardpoint they're obviously gonna have to work on, but I mean everybody has a map they have to work on, but protocol hardpoint's not a hard map to get used to. But with Hacienda coming in, Protocol might be the first map to go, to be honest. It might be the first, especially since no one's playing in Control either. So it just maybe the first map to go. So maybe that's a blessing already for them to get out. That will not be good for Atlanta FaZe because they are very good at Protocol Hardpoint. So, I mean, and I think a lot of teams have to work on their red card S&D. But that's the thing. If they get good at it, then teams are just going to veto it. But red card S&D was one of 2 of the most played S&D maps on the weekend. Shocker, isn't it? But that map's, I would love to see that map in like a grand final, like last map, a red card, bro. It'd be like Counter-Strike. Like the rounds would be so crazy because that's actually a good map with flanks and routes and some strategy. It's not like the other maps where you kind of just had bank stuff. So I really appreciate that red card's getting some notoriety, to be honest. But this is a good showing out of I keep saying Seattle, Vancouver Surge. They're only going to get better, which is good for them. I think Ultra's also going to get better. These are 2 teams I like. This is the Canadian Classic, and I think all the Canadian Classics in the future I'm going to love. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, this is awesome. Vancouver is my boys. Like, they're the team that lives, like, basically right beside me, so, that's good. And Vancouver, their next matches are against OpTic and Boston before the break. And you know what? I feel like they could upset OpTic. But OpTic with Hook, I mean, could be a little bit different. At that point, if Hook goes back on OpTic, I'm actually an OpTic fan. I'm not going to lie. Like, I like Zio so much. I like Zio so much that I want them to succeed. But Vancouver's my team. So that one's going to be a conflict of interest for me to watch, but I'm going to enjoy watching that. I'm going to be sat for that with my notes. I'm going to be taking notes on that game. Probably going to break that one down on YouTube, to be honest, like just because I love that game so much. But the game against Boston, Vancouver could probably think they could win that. Boston could probably think they could win that, which is going to make that one a good, slept-on, mid-card pack game. So that's a good game. And then after the break, Vancouver faces Vegas, which they should bank on winning that, and then Carolina RØKKR. So they're probably thinking they could get at least 3 out of 5 of these wins and secure the winner's bracket. So that'd be good for them. They should definitely be in the winner's bracket for Major I. So it's only looking up for Vancouver. They're only going to get better. Shout out to my man Hicksy, doing very good on the team so far, proving people wrong. You just got to be able to keep it up. And, yeah, we're going to see where they go from there. But the slang does have to improve from Abuza, even though they're more of a teamwork team, and it's only 2 games in. But he has a 77 Slayer rating, which is not good. But, it's only week 2, so we're going to give – or, I mean, it's only week 1, so we're going to give that more time. But this Vancouver Ultra game, for any neutral who just wants a good game to watch, maybe during the break and you didn't watch it, go watch Vancouver versus Ultra. It was a very good game. Went all the way down to Game 5, round 11. So it was a good game. I really liked it. So up next, I'm not really so unpopular opinion, but these Cloud9 games, I'm not even going to break them down, especially after Accuracy went onto the flank and explained the server issues that they had and the ping issues that they had. I mean, I'm just not going to judge any Cloud9 game until they get a good ping against the team or when they get onto LAN, because I don't think that them getting smoked by LA Thieves and OpTic on bad pings is really going to tell you anything about it. It's kind of unfair to even judge them. So this is just me, my personal opinion. I'm not going to judge them at all. I'm going to forget these games even happened. There were some small mistakes that they did make, but I mean, every mistake that they're making, I mean, granted, I know some of them probably are actual mistakes, but some of them I'm thinking they're probably like so checked from just like the ping and everything and all that stuff that they're probably just like not caring as much. You can even kind of see it in their faces, sort of. So, I mean, I'm just not going to judge the Cloud9 series, but I mean, LA Thieves door dashed them. They gave them the S&D, honestly, because they were trolling, but then smoked them in the respawns. And then LAG, Carolina, talked about how LAG should have won this game. Carolina Royal Ravens, something I wanted to bring up about them is in the first game against Vegas Falcons, watching them play S&D, they lost 6-2 to Falcons or 6-3 to Falcons on Skyline S&D. And it hurt me to see every single round of that S&D, Reese Vivid just send back spawn with the job to watch the flank. I mean, that's just not going to bring out the best of Vivid, and even the statistics are going to show it. I just feel like the dynamic is setting Vivid up to get scapegoated if necessary. Granted, they're up 2-0 in the qualifiers, so I mean, probably not going to think anything's wrong, but this is just not bringing out the best in Vivid at all. Like, you could literally look at the statistics. He has a 67 Slayer rating. This is God RX numbers, and it's not even his fault. It's because of the role that they put him on. Like, I'm seeing this with my own eyes. I'm not looking off statistics. This is why it's very important, guys, to watch the games. Because if you don't watch the games and you just see score lines and scoreboards, you see Gwyn with a 102 Slayer rating. Bro, we're not even seeing numbers like this in MW3. That just goes to show you these maps are way too big. The highest Slayer rating we had in the year was like 88. Or like 89 from Hydra, and that was like pushing like high interactions. But now the interactions in this game are pushing it to a 102 Slayer rating, which is insane. Gwyn has a 1.30 respawn KD, and a 1.31 KD after 2 games. Slash with a 1.21 KD, TJ with a 0.92 KD, and Reese Vivid with a 0.93 KD. So he has a better KD than TJ, but a 67 Slayer rating. They're making this guy play ridiculously slow. It's insane. And I don't know how he's even putting up the damage he's putting up in damage per 10 hard point with the way they're making him play, but you can even see in the S&D, his kills per round is 0.13. In S&D, it says he has a 0.15 KD, bro. Is that true? There's no way that's true. Oh my god, this is actually true. I'm not even kidding. Reese Vivid has a 0.15 S&D KD. Like, they are setting this man up to fail. Like, his damage per round in S&D compared to everybody else just proves my point. Gwyn has a 128 damage per round, Slasher a 112, TJ 140, Vivid 63. He is getting set the fuck up. He's getting set up, dude. Just wait until I'm busting out that video now. I gotta bust out that video. I'm going to make it tomorrow, and you guys are gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. They are setting him up as a scapegoat. I don't like this at all. I think Vivid has to try to get on a team where it could just be an SMG, be the aggressive player, the playmaker that he's meant to be, because this is not bringing out the best of him at all. You could say this would be great for him to try to adapt to, because I talked about it on stream or in another video how, you know, you don't want one-dimensional players. You see players like Kenny, who started off their careers as like cracked out in-your-face SMGs, turning into slower ARs, and then turning into a do-it-all flex who could hold spawns, who could still slay, who could do everything. Very versatile players. You don't want one-dimensional players, but, bro, the role they got Vivid on, like, at the moment, like, you know, I think TJ would be better off in his role, and them switching. I think Gwyn and Vivid would be good, because granted they're 2-0 right now, but I guarantee they're going to lose some games. Like, there's a chance they may not make the winners bracket. Don't let these games fool you. They beat LAG and Falcons, you know, good for them. But let's see the rest of their games. Atlanta FaZe, Cloud9 before the break, and then Boston Breach, Vancouver, Miami. There's a chance they don't win any of those. There's a chance they go 2-5, guys. Like, there's a chance. Like, they're 2-0. They're riding high. But with the dynamic with Reese Vivid, I mean, I'm not liking it. Even though they're 2-0, I know what I'm seeing with my own two eyes. They got to free my man up, bro. I'm not even going to lie. They're setting them up. Probably going to lose against Atlanta FaZe. They're probably going to lose against Cloud9. They're probably going to lose against Boston, honestly. I mean, they could beat Boston, they could beat Vancouver, they could beat Miami, but those are all teams that could beat them too. So there's a chance they go 2-5 this stage, but we shall see. If they prove me wrong, I will shut my mouth forever. But I know what I'm seeing with Vivid. I know he said he was happy to run a flex, but I just think that was maybe him also just trying to get back in the league, as well. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to get back in the league. I don't want to be in challengers, Would not blame him for that whatsoever. But yeah, they're not getting the best of him right now. He's clearly not used to being a AR, because I don't think the flex role even exists anymore. There's just kind of two ARs. One's faster, one's slower. For some reason, it feels like Slasher's the fast AR when he should be the slower one, and Vivid should be the faster one. Like, they're kind of making him be a main AR, which is definitely not his fucking playstyle at fucking all. So they gotta fucking switch that. It seems like they kind of like bullied him. They're like, hey, you're gonna do whatever we want. Otherwise, like, you're out of here. It's like 3 against 1 almost. It feels. Maybe that's just me outside looking in. These are my opinions from the outside. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how they do after these matches, and then I'll really talk my talk about that after. And then Vancouver with a 3-2 win over Miami. I mean, another good game that goes down to a round 5. S&D where Vancouver plants the bomb and then people die, and I believe they're left in like a 2v3, and 0-4 finds a gap through mid, sneaks behind them, gets him off bomb, which allows him to win the round. I mean, Miami probably kicking themselves, and watching Miami play that red card, even though it was 6-5, I felt like Miami had such good teamwork on that map. And just good teamwork in general. And these are good signs, and it can only get better from here. My mouth is so dry. Hold on, I'm going to take some water. And it could only get better from here. So, I mean, we shall see. But their teamwork is good. If they really, because I assumed Miami in the B tier when like the coaches put them there in the tier list, and I also put them there. I assume it's because they're executing very good teamwork, which made them look like a very well-oiled machine. And with Real and S&D, I kind of feel like this team could be a very multifaceted team, and could maybe cause. I'm not sure if they would cause upsets against the top teams, but there's potential there, especially with these maps. And in this game, anything could happen, honestly, against any team. It would just come down to slaying power, and you can't have your main AR dropping at 0.65. Even though I think Vancouver's a very good team, you can't have your main AR dropping 52 kills in a 5-game series. Just can't happen with Rewind and Protocol hardpoint maps. 52 kills just not gonna cut it, man. That's actually unacceptable. And then you compare his kills to Real, who had 108. Start off that Rewind hardpoint like 20-4 or some shit like that. Just not acceptable. And also being the main AR on the team and having 4,000 less damage than Real and RØKKR is just like not acceptable. But him and the Metals were both getting fried that series. But from a main AR perspective, should not be doing that bad. If it was against LA Thieves, I would understand it against a better team. But against these mid-pack teams, you can't be dropping a 0.65 as a main AR in a 5-game series doing 52 kills. That's just not good at all. But I mean, they're trying to keep Spanish players, but if they upgrade it to like a main AR Arcides, I'm not saying Arcides would go to the team. I mean, if I were any NA player, like any AR player, and they offer me a chance to get on the team in like that position, I would take that, because that's a good trio. And if you were able to slot in, you could actually probably make some waves, to be honest. But Vancouver's able to take this. Vancouver really needed this win. Otherwise, they would be 0-2, and they would be kicking themselves in the face even more for not beating Ultra like the day before. So that's good for Vancouver. And 0-4 is the MVP of that series. But, I mean, both teams, it's only week 1. It's only 2 games. Let's see how they do this coming up week. But those are 2 teams I'm very interested in watching. Miami and Vancouver, 2 teams that have good teamwork. Seems like they have a good floor to start on, have a good basis. And then OpTic, the 3-0's Cloud9. Not even going to get into that, but I'll just open the scoreboard for those on the video that just want to see it. But, actually already talked about like the ping in that game. It was already basically over before it started. So, not going to break that down. But Cloud9, if you get on a good ping and you fucking do bad, I mean, you're going to get toasted. So, take that into account. So this Atlanta FaZe LA Thieves game, the main event of the weekend, goes down to a Game 5 6-4 vault. And I mean, I got a lot to say about this. I talked about it sort of in the comments a bit with like some of my subscribers on some of my videos, but my takeaways from this map. So where do I start? There's so many places to start. So I could just start with the game itself. So the rivalry was between Draza and Scrap, but this did not feel like a Draza-Scrap rivalry because both of them were getting pooped on this series. Especially Scrap didn't really, even though he had the highest damage on his team, didn't necessarily. It feels like he was playing better in S&D than like he was in like the hard points. In the hard points, he was actually kind of getting fried a bit, not gonna lie. But like that first round does really count because they were just frying them in all. But LA Thieves, the first map thrashed them. 77 points of Atlanta FaZe. But if you watch my breakdown video, Atlanta FaZe trolled like a P4 or whatever. LA Thieves was supposed to going to win the map anyway. But I think the takeaways for FaZe is I would be really proud of this. Even though, you had a chance to win that map 5, made some mistakes. There was a round. It was like the 5-4 round. It should have been a round where they played a tighter setup. You had a BZ and Simp in the bomb, A bomb. They planted it. And they left Draza to watch poolside, mid, stairs, like 4 different directions by himself while MC was over on like the far side of watching the street for like half an hour. Which I just think MC and Draza should have been together watching the pinch from a closer angle, playing a tighter setup, a BZ and Simp in the bomb site. And I felt like that would have worked and forced the round 11 and probably could have won that. But hindsight's 2020. But yeah, takeaways from FaZe is I think this is the first time in the CDL since maybe, I mean, you could argue MW19 or Cold War Empire, but I feel like this is the first time where they probably think, like, in previous years there's been other top teams, they say there's other top teams, but I think this is the first year where they truly think there's a team on their level, like a team where they feel like they have to catch up to. I mean, they probably felt that way at the end of Vanguard, but I'm talking about the beginning of the year. Usually they're ahead of everybody at the beginning of the year, and they're just like having fun, just smacking everybody. But this is a good case of iron sharpens iron for FaZe. Like, they feel like they could take stuff and learn from LA Thieves and not just feel like, oh, like we lost because of luck. Like, there's actually things they could go back on and steal from LA Thieves. Like, this is a good reality check for them, and for them to go down 2-0 and then go down on the 1-0 on map number 3 vault on defense, which you should win, and still battle back after losing the first 2 maps, getting thrash map 1, a map 2 where you should have won, but some mistakes by BZ Chaling when Draza and Simp were already shooting at the guy, and Abizu was 9 HP and walked right in front of Zach's shots. Don't know why he did that. Like, I don't know why he has a hero complex. He has a hero complex sometimes that just costs him, where he kind of feels like he has to do it. But I'm like, bro, you have Draza and Simp shooting at the guy in bedroom. You don't need to help your 9 HP recover your health. But anyways, they lose that skyline. They go down 2-0. They get smacked first map. An unfortunate map number 2. So, like, they not only think, man, we got slammed, like we're down, but we choked that map too. And you know how hard it is to choke a map and then go into the next map. You're frustrated. Like, I could see Abizi's face, his cheeks puffing up red, trying to play it cool, but he couldn't, But to go down that map 3 1-0 on the defense and still be able to battle back and win 3-2, knowing you have to win an offense to force a round 5 in the control and potentially win the defense. And the fact that they're able to do it with just complete grit and come back and then go into Rewind Hardpoint, who you watch LA Thieves slam Cloud9 on it. Granted, there's ping issues, but you clearly know. And the last time they played them on LAN on that map, they also got slammed on that map. And when I saw Atlanta FaZe left Rewind Hardpoint in, I just had a feeling they had to have just done their homework or just practice the map really hard to know and have the confidence that they could take it off of LA Thieves. And they knew LA Thieves would gladly play him on it, because LA Thieves would think they were very, like, literally the undisputed best team on that map. And the veto worked in their favor, and they ended up taking the map 250 to 244, which I thought was like the best hardpoint we've seen in forever. I made an hour-long analysis video on that one too, so if you go watch that one as well, that one, like, I'm so proud of that one. Like, I was just talking about the game in slow motion, and then I look over to my right, and it's 50 minutes gone by. I'm like, holy cow! Like, I've really been talking about this game for 50 minutes. So, I mean, that game was good, but yeah, for the first time in a long time, FaZe has a team where they feel like iron sharpens iron, a team they can learn from. And this goes for every team in the league. I think every team should watch all the VOD from LA Thieves from this weekend. Literally watch their respawn. Maybe not their S&D, but watch their respawn and literally copy what they do. Like, copy what they do. Implement it into your gameplay. This is like the best hardpoint we've seen from a team. Granted, it's only the very first weekend, and I do think teams are going to catch up to LA Thieves, and that map 4 rewind was a perfect example. If you do your homework, if you just play tight, because FaZe, that map 1, they were not playing together, they weren't doing anything on that map, they were just all over the place, making individual plays, and then you go into the map number 4, they're playing as a team. They're holding hands in situations. They're breaking together. One person's looking one way, one person's looking the other. You know, they're teammating. They're doing everything together. And you see what happens when teamwork makes the dream work, you know? And that showed in the map number 4. And I think teams should also learn from that. Like, this team isn't unbeatable. Like, especially since their S&D is not good, which I knew even before Black Ops 6 came out. I was like, this is going to be a very good respawn team, but their S&D is going to be very consistent. Even though they won the Skyline S&D, was not very convincing against a team like Atlanta FaZe going underground, you know, every round, flanking them. You know, that stuff works against Atlanta FaZe. Like, they have a hard time dealing for some reason when people flanking them and everything. But against a team that's good at S&D, I mean, even like a RØKKR or like a Boston or a Miami or Vancouver, like, might give you a run for your money and like both S&Ds, and then they might take like a control or a hardpoint off of you if they do their homework. Like, LA Thieves may be like the best hardpoint team and the best team in the game right now, but with all this, with all their matches now up, and teams could learn and see, like, you know, teams will only get better. Teams will only get better and catch up. And then it's up to LA Thieves to evolve and get better as well. So I think you're going to see teams catch up. I mean, everyone's talking like LA Thieves are going to dominate this whole year. And granted, they're probably going to be Championship Sunday, every event, you know, a lot of grand finals. But I think teams have the potential to upset them. I just, like, know what I see. Like, this is going to be a minority opinion. Like, I'm not saying they're bad. Like there's going to be some person out there that takes what I'm saying completely wrong way, but I don't care. They're undisputed the best team in the game, but you're going to see teams start to find them out in the S&Ds and, like, the respawns, and then it's up to LA Thieves to evolve. But this is a good showing out of FaZe. FaZe goes 0-2, which is probably not what they were expecting at all. But, you know, they got Carolina, Royal Ravens, Vegas, RØKKR, Boston, and Cloud9. So, I mean, they should probably win all 5 of those games and go 5-2 and make the winners bracket of the major. So, I mean, even though, like, they're 0-2, like, they play phenomenal against every team, like, in the bottom of the league. You know, they play good against everybody who's not in the top. And something I want to say about Atlanta FaZe as well is Simp. So Simp had a very bad map 1, but I mean, dude, I say he had a very bad. He went 11-24 map 1. He was getting fried. Granted, everyone was getting fried in the game, but I mean, for the rest of the series, he played pretty well, like pretty well. And his bounce back map 4, so many big gunfight wins out of him, out of MC, even out of a BZ. Like, but Chris, that map 4, like every life, he was winning important gunfight after important gunfight, some 2 pieces, some rotation wins. Like, he was like, that bounce back after that map 1 was very tippable out of him. And in order for this Atlanta FaZe team to do good, Simp needs to get more consistent against like the top teams in the league. Because I saw this last year as well. Granted, he had like that good series against OpTic in like the grand finals of the major that they won, and he may play good against NYSL, but majority of that last year in MW3, when he would play OpTic or Ultra, he would not be putting on superstar performances. And if you think about players like Hydra, and I would 100% understand Hydra being mad that he didn't get MVP last year, because Hydra performs against everybody. Like, he makes everybody look the exact same, whether it's OpTic or Atlanta FaZe or Boston Breach. He makes everybody look the exact same. Like, he's the same Hydra in pretty much every series. Granted, this one he kind of got slowed down a bit, but him getting slowed down is a 1.07 and 108 total kills in the series, so it's not that big of a deal. But I mean, Hydra plays the same against everybody. Like, he drops bombs against everybody, and he looks like a superstar. But Simp, for some reason, he looks very good against the bad teams. But when he gets against like the top tier, like, he may have like a good map and he makes big plays like all the big players do, but he's not dropping like a superstar map. He never drops like a 40-29 or like a 30-20 against like an OpTic or like an Ultra, like from last year. Like, he would not have stat lines like that. Like, maybe on the Invasion Control, because that was like a fucking kill whore map. But I think in order for this team to really be dominant, Simp needs to be like a god on the map. Like, he needs to find another level of form. It's a Treyarch title, like Cold War Simp. Like, he needs that type of takeover ability for this team to be on that upper echelon. He can't be doing average against like the top teams all the time. It's not sustainable. I mean, granted, like, they're at such a high skill level where if the team is just using teamwork, they'll probably still win 99% of series. But that's another issue that Atlanta FaZe need to work on, is their teamwork. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about FaZe now, and now I'm stuttering over my words and shit. Like, I was completely fine the whole episode. But yeah, Simp just needs to play better. I thought Abizi actually played great, but I do think Abizi makes a lot of mistakes, a lot of game cost mistakes. I've said this for a long time now. He is the entry man. He gets a lot of big kills, a lot of big first bloods, but man, does he make some mistakes that cost. And Draza did not have a good series, and I've always hated it when you're playing, you're in your rivalry match. Like, you're playing against like the guy you have the most bad blood for, and you don't do anything, you know? Like, you're basically on the map existing. Granted, that map 1 or like the map number 4, he had a lot of big gunfight wins against Scrap on the map, like a lot of big gunfight wins, but overall didn't really have a good series. But you could tell his interactions are high because he has the most fucking deaths on his team. He lives more than anybody. But yeah, I think Chris just has to find another level of form. Like, he needs to remind us all like who he is, because I kind of feel like he's big lost in the shuffle. I don't think people are having him in the MVP conversations like at all. He just needs to get in that form. He needs to find, like, I don't know if it's just like the team comp, but there's just so many. I mean, you could say the thing about, I mean, you could say the same thing about LA Thieves. Like, they got superstars on their team, but Hydra's still able to shine. But it's because they're really enabling him on that team. But I feel like Simp just needs to, and this team will be unstoppable. That's basically what I'll say. But Scrap had a low series, but you know it happens. He's still gross at the game, but I mean, yeah, like for LA Thieves, it's just like now you know everyone's gonna be going through your VOD and watching. So how are you gonna improve and get better? Or you can just keep doing the same thing and slamming. But LA Thieves really also needs to work on their S&D. The S&D for them is very big. They really need to work on it. Their hard point is clearly insane. Like even said, like even like their coach said, they hadn't lost a hard point in like 3 weeks up until the one that they lost map 4 to Atlanta FaZe, which was crazy. So that includes scrims and everything. So their hard point's clearly good. So they have to work on the other 2 game modes. But I found a lot of times when people start working on other game modes, they start to digress at the other one. Hopefully they're able to find a good balance and work on S&D. I think Control's pretty simple to play, but yeah, if they get their S&D down, I mean, they'll be a pretty unstoppable team. If you're good at hardpoint, you're good at S&D. That's 4 out of 5 of the maps, you know. So, I mean, it's only up for them. They just have to really hone in on their S&D like a little bit more, because their S&D still kind of feels like a bit off. You have Envoy making a lot of plays. Like Envoy's the MVP of this series. He just made a lot of plays on the map. Like, he's a route taker, and that's something at Atlanta FaZe, like, I'm not sure if you did your homework or not. And I'm wondering who, like, the coaches on Atlanta FaZe are. Like, they keep making the same mistakes in hardpoint like they did map 1. Granted, they had a great bounce back, but, I mean, if you know Envoy at all, you know Envoy's going to take routes on you. You know LAT is going to be playing from a position of, like, a lot of the good teams, a lot of the better teams, like, granted they thrashed the map 1, but a lot of teams when they play like Atlanta FaZe, like, you could tell they're playing it a way where they just know Atlanta FaZe is going to do this stupid play or this stupid play, and they kind of let Atlanta FaZe walk into their trap, and they trap them, and they are able to beat them that way. That seems to be what happens a lot, but I mean, there's positive things to take from both teams. I mean, LA Thieves just to work on their S&D, but otherwise they're, like, honestly the best team in the game. And Atlanta FaZe has a team where they could get better on it. And I think this is actually a good character arc for them, because they're not used to having a team who's above them. Like, teams may beat them in grand finals, and teams may, teams may do stuff like that, but they probably never feel like there's an overall just better team than them. And this is a good character arc for them. Like, how are you going to respond to, like, a small bit of adversity, like you saw in the game how they respond to adversity? But I'm talking more outside the game. Like, now you know there's a team better than you. Like, this should help them actually get better at the game, because now they have somebody to learn from. So this is good for them, honestly. Like, there's some good points to take. They might be 0-2, and I know they're not happy with them after both their losses. You could see them in the webcams. They're just like, what the fuck? Like, this is fucking stupid. But yeah, good things to take from that, from Atlanta FaZe and LA Thieves. Sorry if I was stuttering over that one. I was just talking super fast because I had so much to say in my brain. I'm just like, oh my God, whenever I'm talking fast, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. But like the whole episode, I was calm. But now I'm calm again because I got that out of my system. But we're at an hour and 12, so we're gonna get into predictions. I always think these podcasts are going to be short. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to talk about these games for like half an hour. And then I glance over. I'm like, hour and 15. You mother effer. But getting into the upcoming matches for Friday and my predictions after that first week were, I don't know. But predictions going into Friday. So the first game of the day, LA Thieves versus Los Angeles Guerrillas. History will show you that LAG always has the number of LA Thieves, but I think that fairy tale ish is over now. LA Thieves is gonna smoke them, and LAG is gonna go 0-3 to start the season. And then we had Cloud9 RØKKR, and this is an interesting one. Hold on, I was about to open like my thing. I don't know the geography. I need the geography. I need to know where Minnesota is. I'm not from America, so I don't have I'm not from America, so I don't know where Minnesota quite is. I'm pretty sure it's on the West Coast, isn't it? I don't know, it's like high north. Okay. So if they're in LA, they could probably have a more balanced server. Yeah, they could probably get a good server for that. So I'm going to have Cloud9 for that one. I think Cloud9's going to have a way better server against RØKKR. I think RØKKR's in Dallas anyway. I think all the players are in Dallas anyway. Yeah, probably because they're not in a facility. So I have Cloud9 anyway. I have Cloud9. I'm not going to go RØKKR. I think RØKKR may have started 2-0. You know what, actually? I think RØKKR could actually take that. I think RØKKR could take that just because of the S&Ds. But I think Respawn, I think Cloud9's going to smoke them. Actually, I'm just going to go Cloud9. I'm going Cloud9 for that one. And then we got Miami versus Boston, which I think is a good game, bro. That's a good mid-pack game right there. Who would I think would win? I'd have to see the map vetoes. My opinion may change after I'm on stream and I'm actually seeing what the map vetoes are. But I would say Miami or Boston. I would probably say I'm going to say Boston because I feel like we're going to get a lack of inconsistency from either one or two players. On Miami, you can probably guess who. And I feel like Boston's going to match up pretty well in that and probably take it like 3-1. Maybe go map 5, honestly, but it's like a 3-1 maybe. Wouldn't be surprised if even 3-0. But Boston in that one, and then OpTic Texas versus Vancouver Surge. I mean, if Hook's playing, I mean, that changes my opinion because I was actually going to say Vancouver Surge. I even said it like last week, like way ahead of time. I was like, yeah, Vancouver's going to win that game. But with Hook in the team, I mean, man, Hook and Shotzi, I mean, this is so these are basically my two favorite teams at this point because if Hook's on that OpTic team, I mean, I'm an OpTic fan at that point. But I'm also a Vancouver fan because they're close, like they're right beside me. So, man, this is tough. I'm gonna go OpTic though. I'm gonna go OpTic taking that. Anyways, so LA Thieves, Cloud9, Boston, OpTic. Hopefully I go 4-0 in predictions. And hopefully you made it through this podcast in one piece. Yeah, so we're going to call it there. I don't want to go too long because we got matches on Friday. But expect content to keep you and hold you that whole 2 weeks where you don't get any CDL. We're going to go through a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of topics, especially adding on from this weekend. I already have a lot of ideas coming. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe to my YouTube. For those of you who may have just found the podcast but haven't seen my YouTube, you can find me on YouTube at BORI701. My name is Burrito. You can find this podcast on Apple Man, I suck. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But yeah, that's it for me. This is all from the #1 CDL content YouTuber on YouTube. Yeah, in the tube. Anyways, this is Burrito. Bada boom, bada bye. We'll see you next time.